So this week, we've been learning more about the BC teenager who contracted the first human case of H5N1 avian flu in this country. The information came in an article in the New England Journal of Medicine, which outlined that the 13-year-old girl was no longer contagious nearly 2 months, though, after she was hospitalized. We also learned about genetic mutations in the H5N1 strain, which targets human cells, but the source of her infection, still unclear. We don't know. To break down what this all means, let's bring in infectious diseases specialist, Dr. Isaac Bogosh. Good morning to you. Happy New Year.
Hey, good morning, Lindsay.
So how much of a risk does this virus pose to people?
If we timestamp the conversation to early January of 2025, right now in Canada, extraordinarily small, right? We have a single human case, but of course we've known for over 20 years this virus has epidemic and pandemic potential. We know that it's circulating around the globe in migratory birds in larger numbers. It hurts the birds, it can kill the birds fall to the ground, and then it infects mammals that typically scavenge. And we obviously don't want any mammals to get this infection, of course, including humans, because the more opportunities this has to infect mammalian hosts, the more opportunities this virus has to mutate and change and adapt to mammalian hosts to be more readily transmissible. And as this sad case demonstrates, this virus can be very, very severe. So we want to avoid that at all costs.
And doctor, we know a man in Louisiana was also hospitalized with the same strain in December. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control has confirmed 66 cases in humans in the U.S. in 2024. So do we know how this virus is spreading?
We do. In fact, the vast majority of those 66 cases have direct links to infected animals. Number one, poultry farms that are impacted by this. And number two, in the United States, there is a very large outbreak of this virus among dairy cows. And that outbreak has gone essentially unchecked for several months, and it involves multiple states. Fortunately, in Canada, we have some very good screening, and we have had outbreaks on poultry farms, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has been very quick to quell those. We have no evidence of this currently in cows in Canada, and there's some excellent screening as well, including in commercial milk products. And there's been no signs of, or no evidence to date of this virus impacting those animals. So that's great here in Canada, but of course we still have to be vigilant. But to your point, the concern is of those cases, there are 2 in the United States, and of course this one in Canada, where we're not sure what the exposure was. There's no obvious exposure. That's problematic. These people got it from somewhere, be it a wild animal or a domestic animal, or unlikely another human, but we still have to be mindful of this.
Is there a vaccine?
There are vaccines for pathogenic avian influenza. It's not entirely clear how effective they will be because they were designed towards a slightly different version of this. The United States has stockpiles of this. Canada has access to it. Obviously we should be doing everything we can to prevent outbreaks and quell outbreaks so that we don't need it, but it's always good to be prepared.
I think back to, it's 2025 now, doctor. About 5 years ago, we had you on the show, ask if we needed to be worried about what we now know as COVID-19. I can't believe that was 5 years ago. Are you concerned that if we have another pandemic on our hands in the future, it could be even more challenging to get people to listen to what needs to be done?
Lindsay, it's not a nice conversation for 7 o'clock in the morning early in January, but we are going to have another pandemic. The question is, what is the pathogen going to be and when is it going to happen? But we know it's going to happen because these have happened since the dawn of time. I think it will be very challenging to manage for similar reasons that we had during the most recent one. But I think we have to do everything we can to build back trust in public health, recognize that we're not just an island of Canada, but these are not just national issues, these are global issues, and work towards both global and national solutions to detect, prevent, and respond to these outbreaks.
I want to believe that we've learned some lessons. Do you think we have? Do you think we're going to be prepared?
I think that's a challenging question, and I obviously wish we had an hour to discuss that, but we don't. I think there are some things we're doing better now, recognizing the need for local vaccine manufacturing, local PPE production, and also recognizing too that these are global events, and we have seen since the pandemic vaccine production sites being developed on the African continent and in other low and low middle income areas. So I think there are some lessons. Same with surveillance systems as well, in terms of looking at wastewater, which is extremely inexpensive, but effective ways of looking at what are the emerging pathogens around the world. So there are some lessons, but I think we're also a long way off from having meaningful coordination and effective plans to respond to this on a global level.
Still a lot of work to do. Dr. Isaac Bilgosh, always good to see you. Thanks for your time.
Have a great day.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.